Was there anything unusual about her behavior that evening?
Well, she made a very strange statement to me at the house.
Tell us about that, please.
Yeah, so we're walking into the house and we're having chit chat, and she says, "Can I tell something to you confidentially?" And I said, "Sure." And she tells me that last summer, when the relocation got denied, Charlie investigated multiple ways to fix this problem with Danny Markel, including hiring a hitman, and that it was going to cost about $15,000. And I'm unsure if that number is 15,000 or 50,000 because they sound similar, but she told me that the previous summer that Charlie had looked into having Danny killed by a hitman.
All right, so that would have been the summer of 2013.
Yes.
Okay, and when she told you this statement, you previously characterized the TV statement as a joke. Mm-hmm. Was this statement also in the characterization of a joke?
No, these are two discrete, completely different things. She had a joke she would make about a TV being cheaper than a hitman. I knew that joke. This was a separate statement. This was chilling. This wasn't funny. This made my stomach flip. I found it disturbing at the time. It's completely different.
And the statement was made 5 days before the murder of Dan Markel.
That's correct.
By a hitman.
That's right.
It's hearsay. It's tertiary hearsay. I don't know if that's useful to you. I tell you something. Somebody told me. Somebody else told me.
Yeah, I mean, and you'd have to tell me what it was, and I would have to say, okay, is this something that can be excluded from the report, or is it something that's inculpatory? Is it something that...
Maybe I can just make it simpler than that. Maybe I could just say, I would be investigating Charlie Adelson.
Okay.
Maybe it's that simple.
What makes you say that? And here's another thing. We're talking to a lot of people here.
Sure you are.
And, you're just telling us what you think.
Sure.
And everybody else is doing the same thing. And that's okay. Yeah. That's okay. Yeah. What we're trying to do is just get all the puzzle pieces before we start trying to put the puzzle together.
Yeah.
We're still in the stages of getting all the pieces.
I got you.
Puzzle pieces.
I got you.
So why do you think it would be pertinent for us to investigate Charlie?
He's very angry about Danny. And if you met, I know he's down there, you can't get him in front of you, but you're, experienced investigator. If you got in front of this guy, he'd set off your radar, set off mine. I used to do juvenile justice, I used to do forensic psychiatry. He set off my radar a little bit. He's a weird guy, strange guy. He's a conduct disorder kid, and he hates Danny. And see if I can put it a little vaguely, or not, but just enough to be useful here.
Let's not put it vague. Let's go with what you know specifically.
Wendi had reported to me that Charlie had considered all the options possible to take care of this problem. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
And when she said it,
when did she disclose this to you?
I don't remember when, but she said it was chilling, because she said, "Can I tell you something confidentially?" And I said, "Sure." She said, "I think Charlie kind of looked into some options, like literally saw how and why, how you would do this if you did it." I think this was last summer when she had her petition to relocate denied. That family wants her back there so bad.
This is when she disclosed this to you, was last summer?
No. This is when.
Charlie
had been examining all the options.
Okay.
He's a very successful dentist, but he reeks of antisocial behavior.
My name is Dr. Charlie Adelson, and I am a periodontist, owner, and
murderer.
What I love about what I do is being able to change the way they chew.
Now, I could be 100% wrong, but I wouldn't want to miss that if I was investigating it. He's got a close friend who's a ex-special forces guy, like a Navy SEAL or something he hangs out with all the time.
What did she say to you specifically? I mean, when you say...
She said, Charlie... I can't remember exactly. But it had something to do with the amount of money it would cost to have someone killed.
And what did she say?
Something like Charlie looked into how much it would cost to have someone killed. Something like that. Some statement like that. I can't remember.
Did she give you a dollar amount?
But that's the other thing. He's a dentist, but he's an independent businessman. He has a bunch of practices, and he's a Ferrari, and he gets a millionaire, and this kind of stuff. So he has a lot of resources. And this might screw them.
Don't worry, Jeff. They screwed themselves.
Screw you guys. I'm going home.
I got from me talking to him myself in the hot tub one time. A few things Wendi said.
When was this?
March 15th-ish. I was there for the one day with him. I was staying at his house.
Of this year?
Yes. Wendi and him were talking. I'm just listening. I just met him an hour earlier. We're sitting in the hot tub having a beer. It's a really nice house. And I guess this is what occurred.
Was anybody else in the hot tub with you guys?
Not during this part of the conversation. Another guy, his roommate, came in eventually, and they just started to talk about girls and stuff like that. But, and I'm not trying to play cop here, but I do know one thing you'd be looking for is a lump sum of money moving around, and some kind of crazy stuff happened. And I think there's a lot of financial irregularities. I think there's a lot of, tax fraud kind of stuff, of putting stuff in different people's names and moving money around, and there might be cash. I don't know exactly what, but he's not doing anything on the up and up in his finances. It was pretty clear. He was pretty open about that. So I thought about it. If you guys do look into it, I don't know that.
How the exact conversation in the hot tub go?
He was just talking about, I put that in Dad's name, I put that in Mom's name, and it was just clear that
Hiding resources.
Yeah.
Monetary resources.
Yeah. So if you have to do an investigation, that's something you guys should know, because I think there's a lot of, I don't know if it's illegal, but I know there's a lot of, he plays the system, This guy's so inappropriate. We're sitting, please don't write this down.
Don't worry, Jeff. This will never get out.
He's so inappropriate. We're sitting in the hot tub, and he starts talking about sex acts with his girlfriend that he did to punish her for bad behavior in front of his sister. I'm like, and I didn't know what to do. I just met him, protected with my girlfriend. This is just so weird, It's like this guy's, his social radar is way off. His sense of right or wrong, just norms is just off. He set off my radar. Now, I don't know if he did this. If you're looking at somebody, don't miss him. And I can also see him doing this without ever telling Wendi he didn't do it. I can see Wendi being innocent, puzzled.
Well, she is certainly puzzled.
Puzzle pieces.
Yeah, Charlie did. I can totally see that scenario. He's very protective of her. I think that's more likely than a romantic. All the romantic couplings are with highly educated, high elite status men.
You don't want to throw that away.
Who've got a lot to lose. I mean, she doesn't slum that I know of at all. She doesn't.
Well, I mean, this Charlie guy's a millionaire by your own admission. So
yes. Well, he is. He's got this buddy.
He's got a lot to lose. He
does. He's also really cocky and arrogant and narcissistic. So, I wish you had him in front of you, because I think he'd set off your alarm bells. That doesn't mean he did it, but he's aggressive, he's argumentative, focused on himself completely. He's got 3 girlfriends at a time, which some people do that, I know, but no qualms about it,
So you think he may be good for it?
Assuming this isn't a botched burglary or something like that. He's the first, he probably popped into my head within 20 seconds of hearing this. I mean, there's all kinds of, just to give you some context that may be helpful. Last summer, when they were trying to figure out how to manipulate this divorce, or work the divorce, I guess, so they could get, it's a bad fight, all this kind of stuff. They were talking about Wendi converting the kids to Christianity just to annoy Daddy.
New beginnings in Tallahassee. Hashtag Catholic. Hashtag Christian. Hashtag Adelsons never lose.
So glad you found a church you love.
I mean, this has been a pitched battle, I mean, we fed the kids bacon regularly. He tries to keep them kosher. There's all kinds of passive aggressive things going on here, So the family is family, it's important that you know this actually, man. The family is so unhealthily enmeshed, so completely enmeshed, that Wendi is not really an adult. When she drives to South Florida, every single time those two parents drive up here and drive with her down. They don't trust her to drive from Tallahassee to Miami. They're just, it's not a normal family. It's not like she's a 35-year-old that has 2 kids and come down and see us. It's complete enmeshment. It's a matter of they infantilized her. She's considered the baby still. She's 35 years old. Charlie protects her. So just, I don't know if this could be a bizarre fantasy. I know you guys are hearing all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
I hope to God it wasn't Charlie, honestly, but that's what popped into my head.
Right. Okay.
I'm so sorry.
You're okay.
I got stuff happening everywhere.
I just spit it all out. So you
Did you really?
missed
Okay. All right. Thank you. Who did it?
He's thinking, her brother Charlie could be a viable suspect. I mean, I don't know if we ruled him out or not.
Nobody's ruled out.
I don't think Charlie would have done it, by the way. But he's one of these. He's a real rich guy, but he's got friends on both sides of the tracks, and he's real street smart. He's always trading and stuff like that, and got this buddy that's in the special forces, and so he's like a dentist, but he's hanging out with guys that different social class actually, and kind of antisocial, impulsive, angry, fiercely protective of Wendi. And I've heard him say, I'd like to kill that motherfucker. I mean, I've heard him say that so many times. Now, I said that out loud too, and I didn't do it. But there's something different about Charlie. He reminds me of like an antisocial.
Charlie's an older brother.
Yeah.
She's the baby girl.
She's the baby girl.
Is Charlie older or younger than this one up in Albany?
He's the middle kid, I think.
Charlie is?
Yeah.
I love the level of disappointment in Jeff's voice here. Like, yeah, he's a middle child. What a shame. Introducing the okayest new magazine just for you. Well, you still have to share with your baby sister, but it's still for you. Introducing Middle Child Digest, the world's leading only magazine for middle children. Inside, you'll find tons of cool stuff, like why your parents don't have any pictures of you. Aww. And true stories about other middle kids just like you. Full of tips and tricks to help get you noticed. Woo! And there's even cool extras like this month's pull-out poster. Also in this month's issue, we discuss Middle Child Day. Hey, where's our parade? This month features famed middle child and murderer Charlie Adelson. He's a surgeon, and other fun facts that are lies. He helped write this month's special report, The Art of Whining. He sure knows about that. Plus, a super special article about the favorite child, and you know who that is. Not you! It's Wendi. So, subscribe today. Your first issue's on Charlie. He's a millionaire, so he can afford it. And you can guarantee if other magazines left it on the cutting room floor, it'll be included in Middle Child Digest. Don't wait. Call now. 1-888-NEGLECT. Don't get left out like you always do. Call 1-888-NEGLECT. Because here at Middle Child Digest, we love you when... Rob, damn it, whatever your name is.
You had him in front of you, he'd set off your alarm bells.
Okay.
Doesn't mean he did it, but...
No, I know that, but why? Okay, all right. So you're basically saying out of, what's his name up in Albany?
Yeah, Rob, no way, Rob, no way.
He's the oldest?
Yeah, he's the oldest, yeah.
Out of Charlie, Mom, Dad, who else is there?
It's just Charlie, Mom, Dad. That's
okay.
It. That's it.
All right, out of those three, you're saying Charlie would be the most volatile to do something? What would he do?
He'd get his buddy in the special forces to do this, or he'd get some seedy guys down in the Cuban neighborhood or something like that. That's what he would do. Something like that. Something like that. Something like that. I mean, the main thing I told him was that Wendi had told me that he had looked into how much it would cost last summer.
Wendi told you that?
She did.
That Charlie had looked into how much it would cost.
Yeah.
So
She said it in a dead serious, chilling, uncomfortable kind of way. Not like I joke around and like to kill Dan Markel. I'm sick of his shit. That's different. This was like, she said confidentially.
okay, she just you and her one-on-one.
One-on-one, late at night, and
What you supposed to have?
it was late at night, and she told me that. So, it was last summer when her petition to relocate was about to be denied.
Oh, because she wanted to take the kids out.
Well, they want her down there so bad. The family's so enmeshed, so tight, so unhealthy. She's like the baby. So, if you met Charlie, he's an unusual guy.
Okay,
No.
so if you just so I understand, and I don't misinterpret.
Yeah.
What exactly? How did she say it, and what did she exactly say?
Yeah, and I want to remember, but something like I said. We're also talking about us, because I was like, would you ever leave under any circumstances? Yeah, I know you don't love it here. Am I going to be dating you for 2 years and you just move? She's like, I can't because of Danny. And she said, yeah, it doesn't matter. Something about it would be convenient if Danny wasn't around anymore. But
It would be convenient if Danny wasn't around anymore. Jesus, Wendy.
once he was wanting to happen to him or something like that, she said, but Charlie actually looked into how that would be done and how much it would cost. She might have said, I think, Charlie. I don't remember. But it was chilling. In the moment, I was like, my stomach flipped. I was like, whoa.
The crux of the statement is my brother Charlie has looked into how much it would cost to
take care of somebody. Yeah.
take care.
This guy has very little empathy. He's just a weird guy. I'm not saying he did. I'm just saying, if you're looking at somebody, you can't miss Charlie. I think that's more likely than a romantic thing.
Boy, that's you.
Yeah, it's not me.
The other guy's gone. Zach, wherever
Yeah,
he's gone to.
And by the way, make sure that she saw Zach once a week for 20 minutes of sex. I don't know the relationship, I don't know what kids learn about me. So I don't know.
Yeah. Sorry. Size. Yeah. What? I don't have time for her. I said, great. Okay. Yeah. Thanks, buddy. Thanks. Bye.
Before I forget, the other thing is that I didn't know about Zach for 9 months, and I was with boyfriend for 6. So I was telling him, I've always suspected there's a guy in South Florida I would know about. Maybe that's just a paranoid boyfriend. But I wouldn't believe Wendy when she says, "Well, Jeff, you got to start from ground zero." She lies.
You sit on a throne of lies.
There's been a lot of men since September. For me. So yeah, I just wonder if there's a guy in South Florida. She always drops out of sight when she's down there. Phone calls not returned. Voicemail.
Did you go down there?
She doesn't let me go. That's why I think there's a guy down there.
Okay. Did Charlie come up here?
Charlie never comes up here.
Okay, how did you meet Charlie then?
Oh, I met Charlie one time. I went down there one time for one day.
Okay.
We were in Immokalee, and we just drove over and spent an evening with him. So I spent 4 hours for Charlie.
What are you doing in Immokalee? I know where that is.
Yeah, alternative spring break for FSU kids.
Okay.
So we're helping out the farm workers and stuff.
Okay.
So we spent a night in a hot tub with Charlie, and that was it. But I've always told him, I've always suspected that I'm the paranoid ex-boyfriend, so right. But she goes to South Florida awful lot.
Okay.
She's always a little weird when she comes back, romantically and stuff like that. So I just always kind of suspected. So I wouldn't. Obviously, the connection is now she can go to South Florida.
Right.
I mean,
No, we see that part.
Yeah.
Who's this Green Beret? Did you say?
and that I don't know anything about this guy. I just know that on Facebook there's a lot of pictures of him, and Wendy's told me stories about him. I guess the point is that Charlie doesn't just hang out with other dentists. He hangs out with all kinds of people. So it's not like he's some snobby dentist that's not going to hang out. This guy did 5 years in Afghanistan, so it just popped into my head.
Charlie did?
No, Charlie's friend did.
Was Charlie in the military?
Yeah, he's dentist. He's a dentist.
When I was younger, just a bad little kid, my mama noticed funny things I did, like shooting puppies with a BB gun. I'd poison guppies, and when I was done, I'd find a pussycat, bash its head. That's when my mama said, you'll be a dentist. You have a talent for causing things. Son, be a dentist. People will pay you to be inhumane.
So, but when Charlie talks, he talks about cross-section of people. I mean, he has friends all across the spectrum, including, you know, some unsavory characters.
Let's go back to the statement that she made. I just want to clarify the stuff. She tells you, she goes, yeah, my brother, I think the phone was going off. Yeah. My brother has checked, or my brother has something along those lines, has inquired as to how much it would cost.
Something like that. I can't give you an exact quote. It might have been bad. I think Charlie, here's an example. She might have said, I think Charlie might have looked into how much it cost to actually have that done. You know, he's down there in Miami when it's, you know, it's not unheard of. Okay. Something like that.
All right.
It just had crossed Charlie's mind. Bottom line, it occurred to Charlie that was one way to take care of the problem.
And he wants to help sis?
He is fiercely protective of her. He wants her back in South Florida so bad. The whole family does. She never, you know, you guys know the background? She never wanted to be here, ever. I mean, she came here with Markel. They're supposed to be here a year, then move on. He had a job at Miami. He was an asshole, so he lost it. He said, no, go back to FSU and stay there. They're stuck here. So he's doing great. He's the Sandy Dillenberg professor of law and all that stuff. Wendi gets a shitty job that she doesn't really like, doesn't like the area. She's doing her best to make it work. She hates it. Never wanted to live here. Never thought she'd live here.
This is all from her, right?
Yeah, it's all straight from her. You kidding me? I'm her boyfriend trying to convince her this is a great place to stay. Get a new attitude. This is a daily conversation, you know? I'm like, I love Talia. Moved here on purpose. You know? So it's a daily conversation. Like, look, wake up, it's pretty, you know? That kind of stuff, you know?
And her whole thing is, no, I still don't.
She goes, I'm trying, but it's, you know, I didn't choose it.
Okay.
I didn't choose it, and that makes it hard. That daily.
Didn't choose it, and that makes it hard.
And she loves Miami. She just loves it. When we're down there, she just lights up. It's a whole different thing.
Is it Miami or Fort Lauderdale?
It's Coral Springs, but it's Miami.
Okay.
It's Miami.
So, so a daily thing is you're trying to tell her how great this area is and so forth, and she's basically putting it down, and you know, I'm stuck here. My husband didn't want it or couldn't keep the job at UM. UM or Nova.
It was UM.
Can we first talk about the fact that it is 4 a.m. at this point in the interview? Jeffrey literally drove back from Tennessee directly to the police department. And my goodness, what a wealth of information he is. I wanted to include a little more of that interview besides the part where he's disclosing Wendi telling him about Charlie actually hiring a hitman. Because I think it's very important to understand how this family works. The level of babying they impart on Wendi is wild. And I understand helping new moms, and I understand needing some extra support after you've gone through a divorce. But Harvey and Donna making an 8-hour drive each visit to both pick her up and return her is beyond insane. I could see maybe meeting her halfway, maybe, but we can't forget Wendi's not a 22-year-old mom. She's 35. And I'm not saying you're not allowed to get help past a certain age, but for all intents and purposes, Wendi is fully capable in every other facet of her life. She made it through law school with honors and passed the bar exam. She is a working professional and splitting custody 50-50 with Danny, which means she only is with her kids a few hours a day, half of the time. Jeff mentioned that he could see Charlie doing this without ever telling Wendi, which he later changes his stance on. Personally, I don't think Charlie can do anything without telling anyone at least 100 times over. I think both he and Wendi lack all impulse control, and that's why she told Jeff what was going to happen the very week of the murder.
I mean, she's just sloppy. So longitudinally, she couldn't keep her story straight. You know, in the short term, 4 hours, 8 hours at a time, okay.
over a month saying, well, what about that thing? The stories start, but she talks constantly. She's very extroverted, very narcissistic, very focused on herself, very self-involved. Well, what she was talking about in June, relocation to Miami. How terrible it was to be stuck in Tallahassee. Crying like, I got stuck here, I didn't choose this, I can't stand it. And she talked about the fact that the only way she could ever relocate is if something happened to Danny.
Now, did she actually say that?
Yeah, she did. Yeah.
This is the first time you've mentioned that.
I don't think so. I think I did mention that to Investigator Hale.
And to you too, you silly little goose.
If you just so I understand, I don't misinterpret.
Yeah.
What exactly? How did she say it, and what did she exactly say?
Yeah, and I want to from memory, but something like I said. We're also talking about us, because I was like, would you ever leave under any circumstances? Yeah, I know you don't love it here. Am I going to be dating you for 2 years and you just move? She's like, I can't because of Danny. And she said, yeah, it doesn't matter. Something about it would be convenient if Danny wasn't around anymore. But
I'm only teasing Investigator Isom. My brain is getting fried just listening to Wendi. I can't imagine having to be in the same room with her energy-sucking self.
Okay.
Well, no, it wasn't. I had 3 interviews with Investigator Hale.
Okay.
The next 2 was me trying to tell him things like this, and I don't think he was hearing me.
Okay.
So, no, she didn't say that I killed Danny. She didn't say that word for word. But it was, because I was saying, hey, we're about to, get serious here. Are you going to be here? Because she hated it so much. I need to know what's going to happen. And she's like, well, the only way let me give you the context. The only way I could leave is if something happened to Danny. But if that did happen, that would be a tough decision. I would probably need to go back to Miami to be with my parents. So that scenario came from her, but it was a response to a question from me. So, I guess I need to be fair about that one.
Sure.
But it was, and it's true, right? It was, I asked if Danny might move with her. She said she would not be willing to do that. But she was talking about that.
She would not be willing to do that?
No, she did. Well, Danny had job offers from all over the country constantly, and she didn't want to live in Houston or St. Louis or things like that. She was miserable here. She was here just because she came with Danny. She didn't like her job. She didn't like the area. She didn't like split custody. I don't know that people knew how upset she was. I mentioned to you before you came into the room when I said this, but this is the time period. I don't know the exact day. I'm so distracted by relationship stuff, I can't quite remember. But she told me that Charlie had looked into having Danny killed in the summer of 2013. She meant it dead serious. I wish to God I'd follow up on that. At the time, trying to figure out us, and I thought, well, Charlie's crazy. I can imagine that, but certainly he's not crazy enough to do that, so I didn't worry about it.
That's your interpretation.
It's not mine.
No, let's back up.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let's get into the context of your conversation with her where that comes up about Charlie.
Please.
So
she just, she's talking about Danny. She is completely...
Where are we at?
We're at her house in the living room in late June.
In late June of 2013?
Yeah, 2014, yeah.
I'm sorry, 2014.
Yeah, late June. And you know what, this might have even been, this is sometime between June 20th and the Monday before Danny was shot.
Okay.
And I want to say it was right before, but I don't trust my memory on that, the date. And she's talking about Danny because that's all she ever talked about. Danny wasn't a human being, he was Satan.
He was what?
He was Satan.
Satan,
yeah.
Okay.
And what was real strange about this was that in January, February, March, they had a lot of court stuff, and I could see why she'd be so pissed off at Danny. Danny had calmed down. He liked his new girlfriend. The judge had read him the riot act in court when they went to court the one time and told the other attorney, you need to calm your client down and stop having your client write his own legal briefs. I'm sick of reading this crap. Danny was going to get his butt handed to him by the court, and Wendi was going to have to concede a couple things, but she was going to win, everybody thought. And he had calmed down. He really had. So I was trying to say, maybe we could talk about Danny a little less. Danny's chill. Danny's happy with Amy. This is good. This is good for us, And I was starting to see Danny a little more realistically at that point. So she's in the middle of these conversations where she's just ranting and raving about Danny. Very angry with Danny. She's very sensitive, and the worst thing you could do for Wendi is point out that she's not perfect. And that's what Danny represented to her is, he said, you're a liar. Things like that. Anyway, she just comes out of the blue and I said, well, I just wish something, I can't remember exactly what I said, but I was like, this isn't going to ever be fixed in the way you want it. You're linked to this man for your life. There's no fix for this
but you have to fix what you think and feel. And she said, well, you know, Charlie did look into having him killed last summer. He said it would cost about $15,000.
$15,000?
That's right. Seems cheap to me, but you would know better than I. And
it's, I want to make sure I understand this completely.
Please.
So, June, what was the date?
Between June 20th and March 14th, let's say. I think it's probably I think it's closer to July, between June 20th and July 14th. I think it's closer to July 14th.
Okay. She says, you know, Charlie
did actually look into having him killed last summer. And he was told it would cost $15,000. And one of Charlie's...
This is just paraphrased, but I want to make sure I understand. Yeah. Charlie did look into having
Danny killed last summer. It would cost about $15,000. And that's not exactly word for word, but that's pretty close to what she said. I wish to God I had followed up. But how do you respond to that? What do you say?
What did you say?
I changed the subject to us. I was interested in working our relationship out.
Did she ever bring that up again?
No. Never again. But what worries me is that the speech pattern, I'm not trying to play FBI profiler here, but it's kind of similar to when she would say, you know, Daniel Sack and I had coffee yesterday. Well, that means her Daniel Sack had sex all day. That's what that means. That's how she lies. So the fact that she would leak a little bit of it out scares me.
Which is kind of like, I told you half a truth instead of half a lie.
That's how she lies. That's exactly. I'm sure you've done that on your life. So it doesn't have the impulse control just to say nothing in high-stress situations, but it gives you this half-assed version. Yeah.
Can we do that first? All right. Can you tell me what time you left your house this morning?
Yeah, I was there. I didn't leave this morning. I didn't leave until noon.
Okay. And
oh my God. And I tried to drive up Trescott, and I saw that it was blocked.
It was blocked at some point. I'm not sure what time it was blocked.
And I just thought, oh, there's maybe some trees down or something. Cause sometimes.
Oh, you're saying as you drove down which one of the side roads?
When I'm going to a friend's party tonight, and it's a oh my God, what am I even talking about? I needed to buy, it's a stock the shelf engagement party, and so I went to buy bourbon.
Okay.
So I went to drive from my place up Trescott to get to ABC Liquor, and it was blocked, so I just turned around. I was on the phone at the time. I wasn't paying a lot of attention.
Right.
So I just turned around and drove up the other way. I just thought, oh, sometimes when I lived there were electrical things that would happen.
Do you know anybody that would have a beef against your ex-husband?
He's, oh my God.
I hate to ask it now, but I have to do it now. You understand, right?
I understand. He had friends. He always meant well, but he would sometimes rub people the wrong way.
Okay.
But not anyone who would do something like this.
Anybody that he owes money to?
No, he owes money to me.
He owes money to you?
But
not
me.
Okay. All right.
Oh my God.
Would you ever ask someone to do something like this?
Not in a million years.
Okay. Do you think someone would do this for your benefit without asking you?
No.
What good does it serve?
I made my brother, his name is Charlie, the one I'm really close to. He makes a lot of jokes in bad taste, and it was a joke he made. He bought the TV for me this morning that got broken, and I was talking to him about whether it made sense to pay to fix it or whether I should get a new one, and it was always his joke that, like, he knew Danny treated me badly, and it was always this joke. He said, I looked into hiring a hitman, and it was cheaper to get you this TV, so instead I got you this TV. I mean, he would never. He's my big brother, and he's been taking care of me since I was little, but he would never. And I told that to the repair guy this morning.
Right. That's okay.
I said, he asked me how much it cost, and I said I didn't know because it was a gift, because my brother said it was cheaper than a hitman. It was my divorce present.
Okay.
Such a horrible thing to say. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Oh my god. Well, my parents sounded really surprised, so it's at least a relief. I was trying to think of who would be angry enough to do something to him. My parents would be angry, but they're not capable of this. Thank God. I really couldn't handle that right now.
Yeah, no.
So I thought about that a lot.
But you do remember the amount is 15,000?
I do remember that.
No further than that, nothing else?
There's nothing else. I
Really?
wish I followed up. I beat myself up about this.
No, you didn't.
What am I gonna do? Call you guys and say my girlfriend said something crazy? I don't know.
No.
The thing that worried me about Charlie is he has a very close friend and goes on these trips with him, who's ex-special forces and is known for being kind of deranged, and it felt like it was done by somebody who knew what they were doing. So I told you guys that already.
What's his name, though? I never got a name.
I don't know. I assumed you guys investigated it. I don't know. He's a tatted up, known affectionately as a deranged guy. Guy just didn't come back the same like some of these guys do, unfortunately.
But he's a close friend of Charlie's?
It's on his Facebook page. That's what I told investigator Hale.
Okay.
When I heard the crime occurred, about 12 hours I was shocked, and then as I'm driving up I-75, in my head I was like, holy shit, Charlie did it. And he got that guy, I can't remember his name, to do it.
You're saying this guy is on Charlie's Facebook page, or was?
Was. I don't know if he is.
Okay.
These are really smart people. I wouldn't be Facebook friends with them anymore if any of this is true. Other thing that happened in June, our relationship isn't doing well. All of a sudden, from nowhere, like a 5-year-old kid will try to manipulate you in a very transparent way, and it's like obvious what they're doing. She started doing that kind of stuff. I got the sense we weren't going to make it. It was obvious to me, and I never going to trust her again. All of a sudden, she throws me the world. And I thought at the time, I said to my friends, I've been very careful not to develop like a hindsight bias. I've checked back in with my friends. What did I say? They said, you said in June it felt like Wendi was stringing you along for some reason, and you couldn't figure out why she'd just break up with you. She's like, this ain't gonna work, So all of a sudden, she's telling me I should move in.
Move in with her?
Yeah, she's talking about moving in. And I wanted a family so bad. She knew that. She manipulated me with the kids constantly. She said the kids should start calling you daddy.
To me, this is one of the biggest tells that Wendi knew. In June, when the murder is lined up and ready to go, she tells Jeffrey that the kids should start calling him daddy. If that's not gearing up for a replacement, I do not know what is. I have firsthand experience with divorce and new relationships with young children. When my husband and I first got together, we each had 3 very young children. Our 6 kids combined just spanned the ages of 1 to 4 years old. Never in a million years did either one of us ever expect or try to force the other children to call us mommy or daddy. I feel like that should 100% be the choice of the child at the child's comfort level and their own desire. At the time of producing this video, our youngest of the original 6 will graduate high school next year in 2026. And although we have always thought of each other's children as our own, the terms mommy and daddy never crossed over. We have 3 children together as well, who are currently 2, 7, and almost 10. And we didn't ask the older kids to call us mommy and daddy for the new group's sake either. And as a child of divorce myself, who had a stepmom at the age of 3, I also felt it from the other side. When I was tiny, she was so livid that I wouldn't call her mom. Why don't you call me mommy? She would hiss at me with glaring eyes. Because you're not, and you're not even mom adjacent, and that title only belongs to one person. So for Wendi to start lining this up with Jeff gives me the ick in the most fundamental way. Just another way for her to leak out her plans for replacing the man who would soon be exterminated.
I'm going to talk to my mom and dad, and I'm not Jewish. That was the whole thing. I'm going to get approved by the parents. I'm going to give you the passwords. I'm going to give to all my computer accounts. She started acting like this was going to be a permanent thing. So just at the time, I felt like I was being manipulated. I couldn't figure out why she'd want to keep me around. It was really strange. Just all of a sudden, here's the world. Just all of a sudden being over the top sweet.
I hate it. Jeff, I'm confused about this timeline here.
Yeah,
Maybe we should try to get that.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
Okay, where's this week off?
That's in July. I've been going.
Okay.
I've been going in order.
Okay.
So we're still in June right now.
Okay. So we're in, but this comment from late June of the 20th through the July 14th is before or after what you're telling me now?
I can't remember exactly.
It's my fault.
No, it's okay. No, it's not a fault thing. I can't remember. I want to be as honest and accurate as I can.
Sure.
I think that's the Monday before he was shot, but I can't be certain. So this would be preceding that.
Preceding.
Preceding that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it just felt strange. These are just my impressions, but it's like, what is going on? To give you an example, I would just be kissing Wendi, and all of a sudden she's like, like a porn star. I've been with a lot of women. Women don't behave like it's just. And we've been together 9 months. I've never seen this before. It's like
brand new behavior.
Yeah, brand new behavior. I'm going. What's going on? All of a sudden she wants me to. It just didn't make any sense. It was just really strange, erratic behavior.
She wants you to what though?
Well, I was threatening to leave at this point.
Okay.
So, and I guess if I'm putting on my cop show hat, I'm wondering if it would have looked weird if you break up with your boyfriend and then a week later someone gets shot. You know what I mean? I don't know. So, get to mid to late June. She went down to South Florida. She came back. I could tell she had cheated on me. I was very upset. It's very obvious. And I moved to Gainesville, June 27th. She accompanied me down there for a work trip.
Okay. 27th?
Yeah, that weekend together. Had to use the GPS on the way down there, and in it I discover that, the last 50 destinations get recorded. I didn't mean to look at this one, but I see she's been in the Hilton in Orlando, like 2 weeks ago when she wasn't supposed to be anywhere near Orlando. She had put the Hilton in. Mm-hmm. Assumed that's like a sex trip with one of these other boyfriends. So I got really upset with her, and we finally had it out.
In Gainesville?
Yeah. Saturday I tried to, thing was she was going back to Miami for 2 weeks. As soon as we got back, we drive back to Tallahassee, then she drives down to Miami with her mom.
Oh.
So that was because her mom has to come up to take with her because she's not allowed to go herself. I knew it was the worst time in the world to have a fight. I just finally lost my mind on her. The only reason this is relevant to the investigation is it precedes this crime by a couple weeks. I did not touch her. I did not call her names, but I lost my shit on her. I told her exactly how upset I was. I chewed her ass. She decompensated in a way that I've never seen an adult do before. She ended up in the fetal position, sobbing like a 3-year-old, and completely fell apart when I said, I looked at you, left your planner out on the table, and I looked at it, and they know Zach's names all through it, so can we cut the bullshit and just have an honest conversation,
As in she was still seeing Zach recently?
Yeah, she saw Zach September to May.
Okay.
And she insisted that they had broken up in the fall, and that his name's not very clever. I mean, it's the thing she's leaving out on the table. And it says Daniel Sack dinner, And she was doing very erratic things, like she would go to Daniel Sack's house, spend the afternoon with him, have sex with him, come see me, have sex with me. I had to go get a full STI workup. I'm putting my stuff someplace another man's been 45 minutes earlier. She conceded this. So I was really upset, as you can imagine. I mean, and put me with the kids on Mother's Day and the next day, I was really upset. So anyway, I was pretty angry with her. And you may have seen the email. She actually was manipulative enough. They ended up apologizing for that. Because,
was this on her Gmail account?
Yes. There's a lot of...
Other investigators have looked at those.
Gotcha.
And so I'd have to figure out which one.
Yeah. I'm just saying, if you see it, it's a little embarrassing.
I just didn't know if it was her Gmail account or her work account or a different account.
Yeah.
If I want to go back and look at it, I'm going to look at the Gmail.
Yeah, it's Gmail. It's all Gmail. Is my impression, at least. I think that's the one I would use. So we had it out, and the reason that's important is she was very concerned about her social reputation. Are you going to tell anybody about this?
About what? Her having sex with Daniel?
And Miguel and Mahul and other men. Yeah, and I said, if we stay together, I won't. If we don't, I won't slander you, but let's be adults here. This is Tallahassee. You know how many people I know have cheated on their wives and stuff. Right. I must be realistic here. Right. I said, I'm not going to try to destroy your reputation, but you made these choices. And by the way, I'm not...
Did she give a reason?
It's deeply important to her she be perceived a certain way.
No, did she give a reason why she was having multiple sex partners?
Not a good one, no. I mean, she said she didn't, actually. She said she was very upset by my behavior in Immokalee when we had two, what you or I would probably consider normal range, uncomfortable conversations for 30 seconds. Where I said, she said, I was afraid in Immokalee you were going to be a jerk. And I was like, I said, could you please be more considerate to me? That's literally all I said. She's a hair trigger. I think she didn't want a boyfriend, is my suspicion. But I think I was awful helpful with the kids and stuff like that.
Okay, I got you.
I think she enjoyed using me as her...
Okay, let's narrow this down.
Yeah.
Okay, June 27th, you're telling me is the date that you're in Gainesville and you have this blow up.
Yeah, we have a total blow up.
Okay, so is the comment about Charlie and the 15 grand after that?
It is after that.
Okay, so we can narrow it down to the 27th and after.
You know what? I just want to be as conservative as I can, but I'm almost positive that was July, the Monday before he was shot. If I had to bet money on it, that's where I'd put my money.
Okay.
So, when I was talking to her about that, I was struck by how cold and callous and basically sociopathic she was. Here I am, I was crying, I was very upset, and I said, you're not a sociopath, you must feel bad about this on a certain level. And she goes, I don't know if I'm a sociopath, I don't feel bad about any of this. And she was laughing and describing some of the experiences she'd had with other men, actually. She was making it clear they were very enjoyable and stuff like that. I've never seen that from men. I've never seen that from a woman before. It was...
What kind of...
I said, there was this one night where you said you were at a book club. I know you weren't at a book club. She's like, I was pretty drunk that night. I had a really good time that night.
Is she rubbing this in your face, you think, or is it...
She was, but it was just strange because I'm not the one that did any. I was completely faithful to this woman, and I was very dedicated. Well, you could ask anybody.
But had there ever been a confusion about, Jeff, I'll just be simple, elementary terms. Jeff loves Wendy. Wendy loves everybody. You see what I'm getting at?
No, that's what
you understood her that she was supposed to be strictly with you?
Yeah, just from March on. Before that, I knew what she was doing before that. March on, I've been to 50 dinner parties where I'm introduced as her boyfriend. She took me out in public constantly. The Daniel Sack thing, they went to the movies and stuff, but in general, they're at his house. I think they went to yoga and some things too. I got some weird looks from people in public sometimes that maybe, it's one of the reasons I got suspicious. I go to yoga and this one guy be looking at us. I was like,
what are you doing there?
I just got the impression was she here with somebody else? Right? That kind of thing. But no, I think that was probably maybe what she wanted. I don't know how relevant it is. I guess what's relevant is that I'm over the butthurt being thing. This stuff happens. But publicly, I was her boyfriend. I was. That's one of the things that, I don't know if it was an investigative technique or not reading the file, but Investigator Hill kept calling Daniel Sack her boyfriend. And that got me pretty fired up. And that's one of the reasons I might not have made a lot of sense, because that was really, it provoked me. I don't know if that's on accident or purpose, but it was one of these things where he didn't seem to know that I was her boyfriend, and he thought Daniel Sack was. It was one of the
Hale did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to be quite honest. My understanding was Sack was before you and her hooked up.
Yeah, then she went back to him after spring.
But I thought he went west or north or
He's
something.
in Massachusetts, and he left in late May. So there's 2 months there. Where
I thought he'd been gone way before that.
No. He was
May of 2014?
May of 24. May 20th, 2014 is when he left.
Do you know that for a fact?
Yeah.
I got something that sounds conflicting to it. May 20th of 2014?
May 20th or 21st, it was on his Facebook page that he left Tallahassee that day.
Okay.
And, no, I know when he was having sex with him in March, April, and May.
Sack went to Massachusetts?
Mm-hmm. Amherst, University of Amherst in Massachusetts. And the coffee shop thing was May around that same time. I'd have to look up the exact date, but it was that same
Just
week.
Prior to?
Well, I walked in on them having a goodbye coffee together.
Oh, goodbye coffee.
He was leaving town the next day. And that's one of the things I was saying when I was talking to Investigator Hale is if men obsessed with Wendi are suspects, you can't trust her to tell you the truth about that. I mean, this is a woman who was separated from Danny, had that boyfriend Miguel, and in a deposition lied and said, I'm not seeing anybody. And it's a licensed lawyer who will lie to the court. So that's her narrative to the public, by the way, is that Daniel and I saw each other in the fall, and then that was it.
Say again, please.
That Daniel and I dated in the fall, and then in the spring, her and I had a conversation January 10th, and she told me, like, let's see more of each other, and then as of March 1st, I'm her boyfriend. That's not what happened. She just saw him continually.
Give me a minute here.
Yeah.
You need something?
If you had a water,
Yeah.
I want to drive it up, I'd appreciate it.
I wanted to include this portion of the interview to give insight into how manipulative and deranged Wendi truly is. Her absolute lack of remorse for others goes beyond what one could expect from a typical narcissist. Her vacillation between confession and denial about the men that she was having sex with at the time that her and Jeff were still together is extremely disturbing. And more so than just cheating with multiple men in what is essentially a fairly serious relationship was the fact that she would concede to these acts, even boast about them, and then immediately deny that they ever even took place. If you have been unfortunate enough to have been made to suffer a person like this, you know how absolutely impossible they are to deal with. Usually dealing with pathological liars, there's never any reasoning with somebody like this. There's never the ability to come to a consensus or compromise. They will say whatever they feel will control the situation best at that current time. Wendi's biggest concern from her promiscuity was not wanting her social status to be disrupted, not having the impulse control or forethought to the consequences of her actions shows us quite a few things. First, that she is used to being able to control or manipulate any predicament that she finds herself in. Second, she is severely impeded in emotional maturity, and that she clearly doesn't fully assess the implications of her own desires and actions before she acts on them. She is a deceiver. She presents herself to the world in a certain way, and based on her ability to do so, she grants herself carte blanche to do whatever she pleases. She believes that if she works hard enough to create this outward persona of being decent and put together, no one would even consider or imagine that Wendi could be anything other than the picture of perfection that she has painted for the outside world. And Jeff isn't the only one who sees this in her. Wendi reveals it herself in a podcast that she recorded for her writing class.
My childhood friend Lisa told me this weekend that she never even knew I was unhappy in my marriage. I had no idea I hid it so well. I always thought that I had an expressive face, the kind that easily registered happiness and disappointments. But the more I think about it, the more I realize that most people think I am very happy all of the time, because I smile constantly to try to engage with people, make them smile too. I think this face is a kind of mask that I wear out of a life of endless practice, like a kind of muscle memory for the face. I can even remember one time learning that a friend's father had died, and upon hearing the news, I smiled. It was a bizarre reaction, since I loved my friend and her dad very much. We were 13, and I remember him making pancakes for us many a Sunday morning after a few of us slept over. More than 20 years later, I still feel like a freak show thinking back on that moment. If I'm a person that likes to be funny and to use humor and levity to engage with people, then is it an authentic or inauthentic response to smile at the news of something tragic? Am I deluding others or myself when I smile or laugh through the pain of a terrible time? Am I avoiding actually bathing in the grief I need to feel so that when time passes, I will have missed my chance to mourn? Danny used to tell me that everyone thought I was such a nice person and such a good person, but he was the only one that knew the truth about what a bad person I was. He was convinced I had deluded everyone but him.
This is so chilling. Upon hearing the news of her friend's dad's passing, she smiled. I think this reaction is more than just a mask that she acquired over a lifetime of smiling, although that is a really interesting piece of information to hear. I believe that her smile in this instance has a different meaning. Wendi very clearly lacks empathy and compassion. If it doesn't directly affect her, she lacks the ability to be bothered by it. While most 13-year-olds would immediately reckon with the idea of their own father, mother, or caretaker dying, and due to their own feeling of grief, commiserate with their friend, Wendi doesn't. And I truly believe that she cannot even feel this. Wendi's only concern is Wendi. She is genuinely incapable of sympathizing with the feelings of other people, even those that she's extremely close to. She again highlights this in her own words in this same podcast.
And later in the same class, I gave the prompt, your last intimate moment.
It should be intimate when a man cries in front of you while you hold each other, and it was, but I wasn't crying. Sometimes I feel like I'm all cried out. This year I told my small children that their father was dead and wasn't ever coming back. And a few nights ago, when a beautiful man teared up in my arms, I wondered if I could ever cry at something beautiful again. I shared a piece of writing with him I was trying out for class. It describes a scene where I am immensely sad. He tells me he was initially impressed with all that I have accomplished, but now he's more taken with what I have endured. I appreciate his words and wonder, why can't I be that woman on the spot? Why do I reserve the written word for a place where I can accurately and painfully express myself, and the in-person, real-life version for the Wendi show, jazz hands and all? I wish I could merge us so we could be less of a weirdo.
She's given the prompt to discuss her last intimate moment, and instead of doing so, describes something that should have been intimate, but was not. And the reason why it's not intimate is because she doesn't actually feel real emotions. The reason why she can't be the same woman in person that she is on the written page is because it's all an act. This is also why 20 plus years later, she still thinks about the in-person reaction that she gave to her friend's father's death and cringes. She understands the concept of how one should feel in certain situations, but having the capacity to conceptualize something and actually feeling that emotion are very different, which is what leads her to feeling like a freak show and a weirdo. The entire family operates like this. Everything is always more about what this looks like than what is actually felt. Nothing proves this point better than Harvey pulling strings to get Charlie into dental school and how he cheated his way through, nearly failing out of every semester. This family is all about the act. How it looks trumps how it is. Donna even famously praises Wendi on her acting skills. In an email from June 23, 2013, Donna pens a message with the subject line, "Please read, very important," and then says the rest of her life, and consequently Dad's, Donna's, and yes, even Charlie's, will be affected by how well she can perform/act before July 31st. "You could be a good actress when you want to. I've seen you in action. You need to put on the performance of your life." Wendi is being thoroughly encouraged to manipulate Danny, using any means necessary to get her way. The level of entitlement is off the charts. Not being able to realize that the other parent has equal rights to impart their own beliefs and parenting methods onto the children is absolutely wild. I was living in Florida when I went through my divorce, and I can say firsthand how fair it is to both parents and how child-focused the system is. So for Wendi and Donna to expect that she and only she should be afforded certain rights is absolutely disgusting. And again, Wendi wasn't crying with this beautiful man because she was all cried out. She was just not affected by anything not directly tied to Wendi. And she did not shed one single tear over the death of her children's father. Not for him, not for them, because she lacks the ability to care. Genuinely, some of the most revealing parts of Jeff's interview is when he is sitting in the room alone, coming to terms with what all of this means. This next part is so easy to miss. Had I not been wearing headphones, I would have likely never even heard it. I'm going to isolate his voice and crank up the volume so we can hear it together. Here he's replaying their last face-to-face interaction after yoga.
Thank you so much.
Try not to spill that. Okay. Okay, the 27th of June is when you went to Gainesville.
That's right, 27th to 29th.
All right, 27th through 29th, you're in Gainesville.
Mm-hmm.
You see the planner. You see Sack's name everywhere.
Well, I seen it earlier in the month, but I confronted her on that in Gainesville.
Okay. And, oh, you at a hotel or something?
Mm-hmm.
And so did she get upset with you? Does she claim you're snooping or something? Or?
That bothered her, but mainly she just collapsed, just sobbing like an infant, just acting really, really crazy. I mean...
you're basically saying, you know, you're seeing me, but at the same time you're screwing this guy.
I said, I know about Daniel Sack. I know you never stopped seeing him.
But you already know because you've seen him at the coffee shop. Do you not?
But I didn't see him screwing. I mean,
No, but I mean, did you place, is this Daniel Sack at the coffee shop?
It is.
You knew that when you saw him?
I knew who Daniel Sack was when I walked in at the coffee shop. I didn't know he'd be there, but I recognized him.
Facial recognition?
Yeah, I looked him up on the web because she talked about him constantly, so I looked him up.
All right.
I also looked him up on the web. And there was one piece of information I found incredibly ironic. Daniel Sack is a professor. His LinkedIn page shows his current position as an English professor at the University of Amherst in Massachusetts. And then just to confirm his identity, we can see that he was the assistant professor of theater studies at FSU, leaving his position in May of 2014. Daniel Sack is also a published author. His works include Samuel Beckett Krapp's Last Tapes and Afterlife, Possibility, Potential, and the Future of Performance. But the thing I found most interesting is his latest work, published in 2024, titled Cue Tears on the Act of Crying. Sack muses that crying and tears are not the same, although they often coincide. The use of breath and voice to cry may suffice on stage, whether tears flow or not, but a camera close up expects tears. I guess Wendi should consider herself lucky, because she was certainly not ready for her close up. Because as Sack himself points out, even though she was able to use voice and breath to simulate crying, the tears never came.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Mom. I have a message from him this morning. What happened?
Well, before we get into everything, I have to establish where you were and who you were with and so forth.
Okay.
Okay, and then once we've established all that, I can give you more details.
Okay.
Do you understand why I wanted you to come here before I discuss this?
Oh my God. I'm sorry.
That's okay. No, you have nothing to be sorry about.
I just don't understand. How could this really happen?
Can you let me get over this hump, okay? Can we do that first? All right. Can you tell me what time you left your house this morning?
Yeah, I was there. I didn't leave this morning. I didn't leave until noon.
Okay.
Maybe they should have had more practice sessions in between their other sessions, or at least throw her a bone, the other kind of bone, and let her know that she should probably keep the whole breath and voice thing during her lines. Because Wendi, and I know it's too late now, but maybe you can try to remember this for your next murder. When you have dialogue directly after a minute and a half of bawling, you should probably aim for a recovery time longer than 3 seconds. It'll make your cries seem way more believable, okay?
I know it's part of it, but do you know anybody that would have a beef against your ex-husband?
But not anyone who would do something like this.
Anybody that he owes money to?
No, he has money to me.
He owes money to you?
But not,
Okay.
not me.
Okay. All right. All right.
Oh my God, we're poor kids. Oh, I know a lot of people didn't really love him, but I don't know anyone who would do something like this.
Well, we're still trying to determine, what happened and how it happened.
But he wouldn't do this to himself.
Okay.
He was a very positive person.
Okay.
I can't believe this is happening.
I know. Okay. You've been very helpful. Okay. I know it's hard.
I'm trying. I just
You're doing
can't
fine.
believe what's happening.
You're doing fine. I know it's all the shock. I know it's coming to you all at once. Okay.
I don't know who would do this.
Okay. No indication at this time that that's a threat. Okay. But the boys are going to stay with you. You're not going to back over to Trescott. Okay.
No, I don't live there anymore.
I know you don't.
Did they know? Did you tell them?
No, they haven't notified
Oh my
yet.
God. His parents are going to be devastated.
Isom could genuinely not give fewer fucks if he tried. He's got the close-up view of her tear ducts, and his face here is all we need to know about what he thinks of this performance.
Did they know? Did you tell them?
No, they haven't been notified
Oh my
yet.
God. His parents are going to be devastated.
Okay. This is what I want to do, okay? This is what happened, okay? Daniel's been shot, okay? And we have to find out why and who did this. Can you help with that?
I will try.
Okay, okay.
It's such a horrible thing to say. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Oh my god.
What?
What? Oh my gosh.
What?
I can't believe this is happening.
Okay, all right. Yes.
And he's alone.
Yes.
And nobody knows he's there.
Well, you know now, and while I'm going to get this phone taken care of, I'm going to have a victim advocate come in here, and hopefully you can supply her with his parents.
Oh my god. Oh my god. I can't believe this is happening. Oh my god.
You're going to get it back. It's just going to, I'm trying to expedite this now so I can get it back to you sooner.
I understand.
Be right back. I'll be right back. Go ahead.
Oh.
Now, okay? You are.
I'm so sad.
And
There's a tree.
right. Pardon?
I thought it was like a tree that fell down or something.
Right. So,
I didn't even think like that's the house. I saw a few houses blocked off, and I'm sorry, I'm wasting
sorry.
time.
No, you're not wasting my time, dude. And the other friend?
The other friend is Josh Berman, also attorney. That's the last thing I said to him.
Okay. All right.
They're so worried about my kids. I don't know how I'm going to tell them what happened.
And you know,
They're so little.
and you know, it is difficult sometimes for little kids because they're such realities.
They love their dad.
Of course they do.
I'm sorry, you can ask me questions.
No, you're fine. Talk to me about what you want to talk to me about.
It's fine.
You seem very educated and put together. And that's why we're going to try to kind of see some friends, kind of try to work out what options we can to help you so you might not have to. Okay. I'm going to do
I'm fine. As far as I'm going, so I'm fine. At a funeral, having to say goodbye to their dad, and I
Just take
can't
it one
believe
step
I
at
have
a
to do
time.
this to them.
Do you want me when I find their numbers?
Who are now going to grow up without a father. And I have no idea who would do this, and I feel like they're out there. And if they're capable of this, like, what's to keep them from going after the kids? Like, if they hate Danny, then why wouldn't they hate his children?
And you know, they're doing this investigation now to kind of figure out what happened. Let me go talk and let me ask them that for you. Wendy, look at me. There's no reason for them to think that anything's going to happen to the boys right now, okay?
Okay.
And I just want you to know that there's no indications that.
But why would someone do this? I just have no idea what's happening right now.
I'm sorry. Let me go see and try to talk to Investigator Isom and see if he can give you a little bit
Okay.
more clarity.
Okay, thank you. I would never do something like that.
And it's
So
going
I understand why I would be the person you would think would do something, but...
Well,
Oh, I want to be around you. I just know if I was sitting here, what would I probably want? Not much, but I'll be right back, okay?
Okay.
I'll be right back, okay?
Sorry to do that to you. That was too much. Back to Jeff.
So, in that, I guess the important thing about that meeting is it seemed to like shatter her. She's so fragile, and she wants to be seen as this moral, ethical person. She's a friggin' humanitarian on the web, right? I mean, human trafficking and social work. And all
Do what now?
She's like a humanitarian if you look her up on the web.
Okay.
She wants to be seen as this ethical, loyal person.
Okay.
And she couldn't handle it, so she like lost her shit in a way I just want to say I've never seen. She sobbed, but the next morning she sobbed all the way from Gainesville to Tallahassee, and I was upset, but it was.
But I thought, and you're just going to have to bear with me
Sure,
as
sure.
far as I thought that after I can see that she's in this fetal position,
Yeah.
she's demoralized,
Yeah.
whatever, and then I thought she snaps right out of it and says, I had a great time.
That's what concerns me. Is I used to work in a psych hospital. I've seen this kind of stuff before. It's a good question. She was vacillating between. It was crazy. 1 minute confessing, literally telling me I wanted to sexually experiment with people. I wasn't ready. This kind of stuff. The next minute, I never did that. I mean, it was like insane.
Contradicting what you just said.
Absolutely. And on the way back up, she goes, I never did any of that. I said, well, you confessed to me like 7 different times last night. I did not. It was crazy.
Okay.
Absolutely insane. So if it doesn't make sense, I understand because it didn't make sense.
Okay. You don't. Okay. So when you first started talking to me today, and don't take this the wrong way, but when you first started talking to me, I thought we were fixing to crucify Wendi right here, as far as everything, and that she was directly involved. Not necessarily that she killed her ex-husband, but had solicited for someone to do it.
I still believe that. I'm 100%. I never say 100%. I'm a researcher. I was 90% sure when I talked to you guys in July. I was waiting for you to catch somebody, because then maybe I'm crazy, right? So then when Myron May happened, I thought maybe it was Myron May. I'm just wondering. At this point, I'm pretty confident. I got a couple. Can I give you a couple other things?
Yeah, but just slow for me, please.
Yeah, because there's a couple other, just 2 other suspicions.
Let me just before you get into that, I don't want to throw off your train of thought, but I want to address this. This is an email that I think you're referring to. I'll give you an opportunity to read it.
Yep, that's the one she sent. That's where I'm going right now.
Okay. So this is July 15th. Is that accurate?
That's right.
Okay. July 15th is the Tuesday before.
The thing she told me about Charlie would have been the night before this.
Okay, so we are on the 14th.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah. It would have been Monday, July 14th. That's actually just where I was going right now.
Go ahead.
Okay, just to make sure we're all together here, does everybody understand what he just said? Here's a calendar from 2014 for the month of July. Dan is shot on Friday, July 18th. Wendi sends this no contact email to Jeff on Tuesday the 15th. He tells Detective Isom that the conversation that he had with Wendi about Charlie actually hiring a hitman happens here, July 14th, the Monday before the murder.
Which is she couldn't help herself.
She goes to South Florida for 2 weeks. We barely talk. It's hard on both of us. You guys have emails. It's bullshit romance stuff going back and forth. We had one long conversation and decided to patch things up. She sounded very calm in this conversation.
These are phone conversations?
Yeah. You know,
she's in Miami.
She's in Miami. And while she's in Miami, she always says, she would just disappear for 14 days. I wondered if there was another man down in Miami too. It seemed plausible because her parents take care of the kids. It doesn't make sense how busy she is. Come back Monday, we go on a date. That's the 14th. That's the night that...
okay, you're on the date here.
Yeah, we're on the date here. It was real awkward. And she was a little strange, but it was overall a pretty positive date. So I had some hope in terms of the relationship. She said that thing about Charlie. I'm so distracted by this relationship stuff. That's the reason I didn't follow up on that bizarre thing she says about Charlie having Danny killed. But at the end of the night, she wants me to drop all the Daniel Sack stuff, everything else. She goes, that never happened. And I said to her, Wendi, we can break up, but I'm not going to go on in a relationship pretending like this didn't happen. It happened. So she doesn't know how to... Danny's the only relationship she ever had. I said, I know you don't know how this works, but if you want to go to a counselor, you can, or you talk it up. You don't just say that never happened. This happened. And she seemed to find that devastating. Back to the who knows about this, who's going to know about this. Does your friend Steven know about this? Oh, Jesus, you know.
That's on the 14th.
It's on the 14th. So
you're having this conversation during or after your date?
After the date.
Back at her house?
Back at her house. Back
Okay.
at her house. Yeah, and didn't have wine that night. She was sick. She got a bad cold. She was really stressed out and sick. So the next day is Tuesday the 15th. Wake up in the morning, I call Wendi, and I told investigator Hill this. I don't know if there's anything here, but it was kind of bizarre. Talk early in the morning, maybe 9 or 10, and I said, I'd like to see you today. I was a little encouraged. And she said, yeah, I'd love to see you. And she'd walked herself out of her house. I said, well, come hang out with you. She said, I'd love to spend time with you. And then I waited. 3 hours later, I get a phone call, and she's like, actually, I got into the house. Let's not do the afternoon. Let's just go to yoga together. So
where?
Yoga.
Okay.
So we went to yoga together. It was awkward as hell. She was cold. She was done. I could tell. So I'm sitting there yoga going, okay, this is over. Walk her to her car at the end of yoga, and I say, you know, I love you. I don't know what else to say. And she goes, I know. I was like, well, that's not ideal.
So, I love you, and she goes, I know.
Oh, yeah.
Of course you do. I'm a goddess.
Talking about narcissism,
Yeah.
right? So I literally went, okay, and I just turned to leave, and I told Hale this, but I want to say it again. She goes, hey, Jeff, are you still going to Tennessee on Friday? And I say, I'm thinking, why the hell does she care? We're sorry.
You're walking away, you're separating?
Yeah, I went 10 paces away from her, and she says, hey, Jeff, are you still going to Tennessee on Friday? And I say, I lie. And I say, actually, it's up in the air. Because we talked about if we broke up, I should come over and say goodbye to the kids. I was hoping she'd invite me over. And she said, well, she was deeply interested. She asked me 3 or 4 questions.
But this is after this, right?
It is after. No, that's not. I get this email at the end of the night. She goes home and she sends this email. This is after this. This is after the conversation. The conversation I'm telling you about right now happens an hour before I get this email.
An hour before. Okay, so we're still Tuesday the 15th?
Yeah, at 7 o'clock at night.
Okay.
Get out of yoga.
Okay.
So she asked 3 or 4 questions about under what circumstances would I go? Why am I thinking about not going? She seemed deeply interested in what I'm going to do on Friday. It just was bizarre.
Timeline check. Monday, July 14th. Discloses to Jeff that Charlie legitimately has looked into hiring a hitman to murder Dan. Tuesday, July 15th. After acting completely disconnected and cold to him, Wendi earnestly inquires about Jeff's plans to leave town on Friday. To me, this is a hugely damning piece of evidence. I could maybe see her caring about what he was doing over the weekend if he was the one that initiated the breakup. But what rational reason would she have to care about what his plans are on Friday, July 18th? I don't know if she was specifically trying to set him up, but this to me shows that she most definitely knew that something was going down on or around the 18th. For as narcissistic as Wendi is, there's no other reason why she would care in the slightest about where Jeff was going.
I was like, well, whatever. Got home, got this email. What was so strange about this? We had just spent 16 days away from each other, thinking about things. Then I get this. I told her, if you don't want to do this, send me a text and say I can't do this anymore. Why would you string me along for a week? It's real strange.
I just want to make sure that we're on the same page. And I'm going to read this aloud. So if there's something, it pains me to be writing this to you now, but here we go. I need some space to clear my head and to figure out how to move forward. I am heartsick, but my head and my heart are having two different reactions to us being together, and I can't reconcile them to be in this like you would want me to be. So she's saying you're coming on too strong, basically, is what I'm reading. You want a full commitment.
No, that's not how I read it, but I mean,
Well, I mean, that's how I'm looking at it. Is that not true? I mean, okay, do you want a full commitment from her?
I wanted to continue the relationship, yes.
Okay.
But we had discussed just breaking up. We just spent 16 days apart thinking about things.
Right. You're 16 days apart. Then you go on a date on the 14th. She makes the comment about her brother was going to looked into killing Danny the previous summer, which would have been summer of 2013. She didn't specify a month. You didn't question her any more about that.
I was too focused on this stuff. Yeah, I didn't.
No, you make when she's making this statement on the you're saying the Monday.
Yeah.
Which would be the 14th.
Yeah.
When she makes this statement that Charlie had looked into having someone do this for 15, it was going to cost. Hey, how much does it cost to kill this guy? And the answer that Charlie gets is $15,000. He shares that with his sister.
Yes.
Okay. And then she says that to you, and that was in the context preceding that conversation was basically, what do you want to do? You don't like it here. I'm talking in your...
that was part of the conversation. It was a constant conversation about Danny is awful, Tallahassee sucks. That's about all she ever said.
And I can't do anything. I'm stuck here because, I guess she got denied relocating with the kids. And she's saying, I'm stuck here unless something happens to Danny. That's what you're getting at.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm getting at.
And then she just spills this out.
Yeah. And then I think, by the way, she just went to the bathroom. I think there was something like that where
But you're saying that, I mean, there was no more conversation about this. Is huge to me. This is like, my brother's already checked into it and it costs this much.
Yeah,
is it like this is still available and open, or 15 grand is too much we're too cheap?
This family's rich. I mean, it's nothing.
No, I know, but
he's got petty cash in his office.
The defendant just opened up his safe and handed over his beloved money that he had saved his entire life since he was a child. He just handed it over. Take it all.
Okay, but was this like this option still available? Is that how it was?
It was just said in passing. And I've mulled it over in my head 100 times. I didn't know what it meant.
Okay, so my brother checked into it, and it was going to cost 15 grand.
I'm just heartbroken in this situation. I'm not thinking about that. I'm thinking about how do I get this woman back.
I realize, but I'm trying to glean this from what the interpretation that you got from it.
Yeah.
I know you told me you didn't ask her anything more about it. I mean, a statement like this. Don't take this the wrong way, but if I was in your shoes, I'd be like, I'd be saying, what the hell are you talking about?
I got used to her craziness. That's to get her right. I mean, she's all over the place all the time. So I think I just wrote it off as another crazy thing Wendy says.
But you recall the amount.
I do, and I went back to a couple friends because I told them about this.
Right.
After Danny got shot, I said, holy shit. I mean, that's what happened. So I beat myself up about that.
No, I don't want you to beat yourself up. I just want to make sure that you didn't. I'm just trying to get you to see. Is there anything else that you can recall? I'm not saying you did anything wrong.
I know, I get that.
I'm saying, are you sure you didn't miss something else in that conversation?
No, because it was right back to her and I.
Okay. All right.
Since you're going to be here, and that's not going to happen.
So this comment is made in passing as she's traipsing off to the bathroom.
Like, her bedroom or something.
Comes back out. It's all okay.
And I say, I had a good time last night, or something like that. It was that kind of thing. So she sends me this email. And I don't know if it's coming on. I didn't know what to make of it. I sent it to some of my friends who know her pretty well. They said, she's crazy, is what they said. I mean, why wouldn't she just break up with you? It doesn't even make sense. I should have broke up with her. But we've been apart 16 days. She wants another week. But recall that when she left Danny, she just moved out while he was gone. So confrontation isn't her thing, you know. So maybe that's why. So Wednesday goes by. There's Thursday. Thursday, she...
You're still up in the air about leaving. You've told her, I don't know for sure if I'm leaving Friday or not.
That's right. She doesn't know for sure. I don't know if she would have or would have known. We have mutual friends that I told on Wednesday or Thursday that I was going, that it wouldn't shock me if she were able to find out that I was going. I mean, we have mutual friends.
But your answer to her was, I don't know yet.
That's right, that's right. But the next day I decided to go. So it was all
Wednesday.
Yeah, I decided to go for sure on Wednesday. Thursday, she changes her Facebook picture. I'm sure you've seen the picture of her in the beautiful purple dress. It's all over the media. And that was bizarre to me, because that's a Victoria's Secret dress. It's not a dress you hang out at your parents. You might wear it to a club if you're an undergrad. You might wear it to bed. You don't hang out at your parents' house wearing that dress.
Oh, Wendi updated her profile picture. Oh, and her cover photo. The important thing to know about an assassination or an attempted assassination is not who fired the shot, but who paid for the bullet. I wonder what that means.
And to me, it was...
Was this a dress that you gave her?
No. But you saw the picture. It's fairly scandalous.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
But if you went to Google and type in Wendy's name, she's a pretty girl, but you'll find nothing where she looks even close to how she looks in that picture. She looks gorgeous in that picture.
On the Facebook?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was suspicious to me after the fact that picture was changed 12 hours before Danny shot, and that's the picture that was distributed to the media. She's very concerned with her appearance and how she looks. So I know that maybe sounds crazy. Investigator Hale seemed to think it was, but I thought, this is so strange. She changed her Facebook picture twice in 2 years, and the night before Danny shot, and she's going to be all over the media, she looks like a Victoria's Secret model, you know?
Okay.
So, but I was bothered enough by that picture, because it...
What was the prior picture?
Something that looks more like a 35-year-old woman with 2 kids would have on her Facebook page.
Okay.
All the other pictures, and she looks pretty enough, but that one looks, I mean, she looks amazing in that picture. She's not even that pretty alive. That picture, I think her dad photoshops that stuff. He does that kind of thing. So it was a picture produced for her by her father, I believe. So Friday I leave. Thursday night I leave. About an hour after I saw that picture, I said, fuck this, and I just drove out of town. The next day, Danny shot at 11 a.m. No one contacts me, which we have a lot of mutual friends, and they didn't. I talked to some of them after the fact. They tell me that they were under the impression that I was very likely an actual suspect in this case. I posted on Facebook from Tennessee Friday night at a time where it would have been impossible for me to ever have been here at the time of the shooting. I found this really puzzling, and what some people have told me after the fact is that you know, you guys searched Wendy's stuff. It says, talk to Jeff about stalking in her calendar.
Ask JRL why he shot Danny. I talked to JRL about stalking.
If somebody was stalking with you, would you need to write yourself a note to remind yourself to talk to somebody about it? It's real strange. Especially since I never did anything approximate. I snooped. I conceded that I snooped. If I could have any options, I don't feel badly about it at this point. She didn't contact me for 10 days. She told me that the police had instructed her that I was a suspect and she was not to return a text message that I sent her. That she could not do that. I actually recently dated a criminal defense attorney, just coincidentally, and she thought that was bizarre because she said they want you talking, you want to incriminate yourself, they're going to get access to this stuff. But
that didn't come from me.
I don't think it came from anyone. It was very strange. Well, I know legally you can't do that probably, but
No.
I mean, it's why would you want to? So I wasn't in the room with her. I don't know how she acted or whatever, but it was implausible that I did this. And I don't know if she told me I tried to protect you from the police. They want to know where your house was. They want to know this. I said, I don't need protecting. How come none of your friends called me or texted me? Well, they told me later that she seemed to be concerned that I actually did this.
Why would you do it?
I can find out. Why would I do it?
Well, what did she say? Well,
crime of passion. We're breaking up and Jeff's upset. Why would I go kill Danny because I'm upset with Wendy? And by the way, as soon as I heard he's dead, I said, that's it for us. She's back in Miami. That's it. I knew. It's the dumbest thing ever. That's what I was doing. I work at FSU. I can't move. By the way, I was in the Air Force. Last time I fired a gun was an M16 in basic training, and I missed the target mostly. I'm not a shot. She also described to me how she knew the details of the crime scene, which sounded very precise, like someone that knew what they were doing. It's implausible she could actually think I did this. I'm a clumsy, absent-minded professor with osteoarthritis and a bad shoulder. I mean, so I don't know if she said that to you guys. I know you can't tell me that. But she was telling people in her social circle, apparently, that they shouldn't contact me, I guess. That, this was really a possibility. And that just seems deeply suspicious to me. A lot of these people aren't really close friends with me, but I found out about this crime third hand. And that just struck me as incredibly strange. And suspicious, very suspicious.
Hey, Wendy, it's Jeff. Told the cops about your little scheme. You're screwed. What the fuck, JRL? I told you that in confidence. Charlie's texting Sigfredo right now. I mean, I never said that. I'm deleting these messages. Like I always do.
She made, well, first of all, does she still have the same phone number?
She switched her phone 3 or 4 days after the shooting because she thought you guys had bugged it.
Okay.
Things innocent people do. Talk about a murder days before it happens. Always delete their text messages. Visit the crime scene and lie about it. Replace their phone after their police interview because they're afraid it has been bugged. And more.
Does she still have the same phone number?
She switched her phone 3 or 4 days after the shooting because she thought you guys had bugged it.
Okay. All right. Do you have the new number?
I don't. I think she has the same number. She has a different phone. She just wants
a different handset. Which is
silly because they want to. You don't need to put a bug on a phone physically. Right. I mean, it's funny.
Why would she be concerned about people bugging her phone, or police bugging her phone, I guess is what she's specifically concerned about?
She's real concerned about that.
Oh my God, Wendy. Why are you like this?
She told me that.
Did you ask why?
No, I knew I immediately thought she did this, and so she told me 50 times, Jeff, I had nothing to do with this. And I always just let it be silent. Sorry. I just let it be silent because I didn't want to go there. I didn't want to play my hand. I've never said anything to her. I just wanted to listen. I was hoping she might give me something interesting and I would come tell you guys. Because she's erratic enough, I thought she might say something stupid. She must have said 50 times, I had nothing to do with this. And you saw her statement in the press. She's worried for the safety of her and her children. No one's suggesting a serial killer looking for Jewish lawyers, I mean, this was pretty targeted, so...
Yeah, you think, she's concerned for her children's safety.
Wendy plays the victim so well. To me, it looked like classic Wendy.
Hi, Annie. Oh, dear. Oh, Wendy.
That's just classic. Wendi. Classic.
I know there was a shooting in Danny's block this morning. That's all I know.
That's all I know.
Oh dear. Oh, honey.
Isn't that just classic Wendi? So classic.
I really needed some help.
Classic Wendi.
Everybody else felt bad for her. I thought, holy crap, she did this. She plays the victim instantly. She's great at it.
You said something a minute ago, and I didn't want to interrupt you, but I know it was about something about Charlie getting shot.
Charlie getting shot?
Yeah, I thought she said something about. I thought you were telling me that Wendi was up here, or had said something about Charlie getting shot or Charlie getting killed or something like that. She referred to that.
Danny or Charlie?
I'm sorry, Danny. I'm sorry. I'm totally confusing you. And
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. Danny getting shot. Oh, when she was up here, how's this for awkward? My best friend sat next to her at a bat mitzvah. He refers to her, just so you know what it's like in the community, he calls her the murderer in common conversation.
I don't know who your best friend is, Jeff. But can he be my best friend too? I feel like we would get along great.
How's this for awkward? My best friend sat next to her at a bat mitzvah. He refers to her, just so you know what it's like in the community, he calls her the murderer in common conversation. He is convinced. I don't know how, a lot of people, and that's not from my take on it, that's his take on it.
Right.
He knows I could be crazed. He had to sit next to her at a bat mitzvah for 4 hours. She's cracking jokes about Danny getting his head blown off.
This is what, 8, 9 months after Dan's murdered? No decent or even halfway decent person would be making jokes about anyone who lost their life like this, let alone the father of their children, especially in such a crass and disgusting way, like saying his head got blown off.
Head blown off.
Yes, cracking. And I can't remember the exact joke, but that was how he put it, at least. And he said he looked at her and said, "Wendy, that's totally inappropriate."
Where was this at?
So it was the Andrew Epstein's daughter's bar mitzvah.
Okay.
Which was 3 weekends ago. She was here for 4 days. And in the morning when she was here, it was a church ceremony in the morning, the party at night. And the morning one, she sobbed through the whole thing. And whenever anybody asked her, like, what's going on, she didn't say I'm sad. She said, I'm nervous, I'm anxious.
Our little baby Wendi Pooh was nervous? I can't imagine what about. Could it be the constant threat of arrest that being back in Tallahassee invoked? Could it be the intrusive visuals that at any given moment the feds would pop up from a table and take you to the ground? Thank you for calling the murderer. How may I help you? Hey there, Wendi. Detective Isom calling. Is this an okay time to talk? Not really. I won't take up too much of your time then. I hear you're in town. Yeah, who told you that? Just heard through the grapevine that you were at the Epstein's daughter's bat mitzvah. Yeah, I'm kind of busy. I know, you're just sitting there cracking some jokes, and then suddenly a familiar song.
What you want, what you want, what you gonna do?
Detective Isom, how do you know I was telling jokes? I have ways of finding stuff out. You know, we've been hoping you'd make a little visit up here, save us the trouble of going down to Miami.
What you gonna do? What you gonna
I figured I'd make it easy on you and just meet you here. We've been working really hard on this case, and we thought you'd be pleased to hear that we tracked down our number one suspect. Oh yeah? Yeah, we really wanted to tell you in person that we're ready to make an arrest.
You're under arrest for because my attorney said not to.
Okay, good. Good. Cuffs. Hand. Other arm. You good, buddy? Hey, you good? Hey, roll him up. You good? Sit up. Just stay right there.
I've seen a lot of grief. I'm a social worker. This is really an atypical reaction. It's real strange. And then the evening, she was pretty much herself, but she was cracking jokes. She told some of my friends that she's changing their names to Adelson.
When did you decide to change the names of your children from Markel to Adelson?
So after Danny's murder, there was a lot of news. It just hit the media, and there were news stories everywhere. And Nancy Grace on CNN put pictures of my boys with their faces unblurred, just pictures of them.
Mm.
And I was terrified. And so when they started school, I started school with my last name, thinking that would keep them safe, that they wouldn't be associated with the murder.
Wasn't the Adelson name in the press just
It
as
was
much
not in
as
the press.
Markel?
Not yet.
Do you agree that you legally changed the kids' names on July 6th of 2015?
That sounds right.
So it was actually a year after the homicide.
A year after.
So how quickly did she change their name back once her brother got convicted and her mother got indicted? Oh, wait, she didn't. And she changed their names because their faces got put on TV? That makes sense. Because surely no one will recognize them if their names are changed. When in actuality, not even Wendi took Dan's last name when they got married.
Okay. Do you have your identification with you? All right, so you never took the last name of Markel?
No.
Adelson. Okay. Wendi with an I.
Yeah, and I dot the I with a heart.
All right.
She still hates Danny more than you would ever think. And no one has ever heard her say one sympathetic thing about Danny and Markel to this day. And it's just weird. Why would you be hanging on to anger? I mean, it's so... I can only think of one reason, to make the world make sense to you. But yeah, she was cracking jokes, which sometimes people deal with pain in that way. I get that. But, I mean...
How did she say it? How did he tell you she said it?
You might have sent me a... Oh, here's what she said. There was one just general joke, but I have the other text. He said, my favorite quote from tonight, I overheard Wendi saying, at least it didn't happen to Jeff or the kids or somebody I actually cared about.
Okay.
So that was the vibe. You know, they split this town into two piles, you know. I mean, it was a nasty thing. But people that aren't me, because I'm careful, I haven't told anybody the story like I've told it to you. I've told people I'm suspicious. That's about all I've said. They find her behavior erratic, bizarre, scary, and people who are very close friends to her are coming to the point where they're like, Jeff, I'm have people stopping in my office saying, Jeff, is there any chance, it's just not the Adelsons in Miami, is there any chance they had something to do with this? That's the weirdest family, the vibe. You walk in the room and something's strange. I know it's all subjective, but it helps me to hear that because I feel like I'm a crazy person for the last 6 months. I've been waiting for you guys to arrest some vagrant, you know? I mean, and those names I give you, I mean, that's so you have all the data I have. Wendi with Charlie. I don't know who pulls the trigger, but there's a very strange relationship between those two. I acknowledge this might all sound real crazy to you, Mr. Gary.
I'm not, no. So I'm very interested in this.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that I understand it completely and thoroughly.
Yeah.
And I can see that it's been weighing on you heavily.
Well, it has, because it sounds crazy to people, obviously. Although I told a couple of people the whole story like I told it to you start to finish, and no one else has said I'm crazy. My therapist said, one thing I forgot to tell you, I had to go get a damn therapist. It was so crazy. So I to try to manage her, I tried to get some advice on relationships. And in April of 2014, he tells me, look, he's real blunt. I gotta be honest with you. Two possibilities. One is she's just getting over a divorce and drinking too much, and she'll settle down over time, maybe live happily ever after. Second option, she sounds an awful lot like a sociopath to me. That's an objective person.
Right.
And I said, sociopath? He said, yeah, high functioning, but she doesn't seem to have a conscience. And I said, oh, Jesus, what have I got myself into? Because I was in love with her and I wasn't going to leave at that point. But that's the kind of feedback I've gotten when I tell people what she's actually like.
Okay.
I prefer that you guys catch somebody else, obviously.
Right. When's the last time you talked to her or had any conversation?
I could find it for you. It would have been in around August 20th.
Oh, that long ago.
Yeah. She cut off all contact because I didn't tell her I was dating. It was just bizarre. That was the time, it was about the time of commencement, summer semester commencement. That was another thing as far as narcissism and a crazy person. You know what Wendy was mostly upset about? And she told me this. The fact that she had to cancel her commencement speech because Danny was shot. Her attorney said it's a bad idea to get yourself in front of the media like that. Inside Edition will show up. You can't do it. She was devastated. It's bizarre.
Obviously, if there's something else, you know, we can meet again.
I got one other quick thing for you, actually.
Absolutely.
Wendy was advancing her withdrawal schedule from the antidepressants much more rapidly than is safe, and she stopped. She told me this after the fact. She dropped off the med completely on July 14th.
that's the. We determined that's the date that the conversation happened about Charlie and the 15,000.
That's right.
But she doesn't tell you till later on.
I just said, how are the meds? And she goes, oh, I stopped those. I think the first day I was back, which was Monday, July 14th. That was my first day off of them. So she was off of them completely on that day.
Okay, so.
Which, by the way, people have impulse control problems at that point, so that might be why she said that. I mean, it's.
But she's telling you this when?
In August sometime.
Okay. She just stopped cold turkey? Or
I don't know. I just know that it's supposed to go down 10% a week. She wasn't doing that.
Very interesting that she stopped her antidepressants a few days prior to Danny's murder, and the same day that she revealed their plans to kill him. I find it highly plausible that she chose this time to stop them completely to be able to become more emotionally unstable and better able to react believably to Danny's death.
Your level of contact with her between June 29th and July 14th was less than it was before?
Oh, it was minimal. It was minimal. Days and days would go by at points without us talking on the phone at least. I may get that random text or something, but we weren't talking a lot.
And then on July 13th, Wendi, in essence, tells you that her brother, Charlie, had looked into hiring a hitman to kill Dan Markel.
In 2013, yes, sir.
In 2013?
Yeah.
What was your reaction to this?
It was in the context of a relationship discussion. It kind of just blurted out when he has a habit of blurting things out that are kind of tangential or whatever. And so I didn't know what to make of it. My stomach kind of flipped. It was like a chilling statement. And then we kind of ended up talking about the relationship again, and so I didn't give it a lot of thought at the time. It was just like a crazy thing that someone would say, you know.
Okay. Very crazy thing.
Yeah.
But let me ask you this. Did you take that statement as a threat to you? And let me kind of clarify this. She indicated that because of her bad relationship with Mr. Markel, correct? And you agree with me that they had a bad relationship, correct?
That's how she characterized it.
You agree with me that she said, based on a bad relationship, that her brother had looked into hiring somebody to kill him, correct?
Well, that was specifically about the relocation, is what she said in that statement. I know they had bad blood otherwise for other reasons, certainly, but that was specifically tied to the relocation battle being lost. That was what prompted Charlie to look into it, according to her statement.
This conversation that you had on July 13th, where was it?
It was in her house on Aqua Ridge.
Was anybody else around when she made the statement?
No, sir.
Did you contact any of your friends after this conversation and discuss the fact that Wendi Adelson had indicated that her brother had looked to hire a hitman?
In what time frame?
Okay, so on July 13th, when the conversation's over, do you stay there that night?
No, we ended with me telling Wendi, if this isn't going to work for you, you can text me and we can just break up. I don't want a big thing, like confrontation. And I left for the night. I did not stay.
Do you have like a family member or a best friend that you talk to about personal issues?
I have several, sure.
Okay. Did you call or contact any of them on the way back to discuss what had transpired about? And I'm not talking about the breakup.
Yeah.
Okay? I'm sorry. I am talking about the breakup.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you call your friend and go, hey, listen, it ended with me and Wendi?
It's summertime, and at FSU, a lot of these people were out of town. Some of them were even overseas, so there was less contact than there ordinarily would have been. But I'm sure I discussed the fact, well, not that night because it was so late. What I remember is the next day when I get this email saying, don't contact me for a week, I certainly shared that with friends because I found it really frustrating and surprising and thought it was weird.
Did you share with any of your friends the comment that Wendi Adelson made to you with regards to her brother and the murder for hire?
Yeah, I'm sure I did. I just couldn't tell you who or when I did that. But certainly, after the murder occurred, certainly I shared that with people. I also shared it with the police the first day they brought me in.
Right. So you were interviewed by law enforcement in this case, correct?
Yes, sir.
During your interview with law enforcement, did you mention this statement?
I did.
Okay. Did you tell it was Detective Eisen that interviewed you?
It was him and Investigator Hale.
Okay. Did you indicate to them who you had shared this information with?
I don't know that I was asked to.
Hearsay.
Judge, it's not for the room.
Can you restate the question?
No worries. So when you tell them what Wendi told you about her brother's murder for hire plot, did you say, yeah, listen, I spoke to my buddy, because the murder happened on the 18th, correct?
That's correct.
And so 4 days prior to that is when you got that breakup. Was it an email or a text message?
It was an email.
Okay, so you get a breakup email. And so you call your friends, which is normal, right? Sure. And you indicated just a few minutes ago that you probably mentioned the murder for hire to some of your friends, right?
At some point, I just don't know when.
Okay. What about, was that before or after your interview with law enforcement?
Was what before or after?
Your discussions with friends.
Well, after I had told it to the police, I certainly discussed it. I'm confident. I may have done it before as well. I don't recall that. But after I told the police that, I did share that with some people confidentially.
Now, she told you, and by she I'm referring to Wendi Adelson, during your July 13th conversation, that he had looked and the price was either $15,000 or $50,000, correct?
That's correct.
So it's either one or the other, correct?
Right.
And would it be fair to say, based on your testimony, that she said that price was too high?
No, she didn't offer any further context or explanation. It was kind of the thing that was blurted out. And then literally 20 seconds later, she started talking about something else, and I can't recall what that was. I think it was the relationship stuff that I was very focused on.
So out of nowhere, she tells you Charlie was going to go look to hire a hitman. It was going to cost $15,000 or $50,000, and you don't go back to that.
I don't know that it was out of nowhere. I believe preceding that was a discussion that if anything ever happened to Danny, she would move to Miami. I think I've spoken to the investigator Eisen about that previously.
And listen, I have to ask Mr. Lacoste, at no point did you contact law enforcement after you heard of this threat so they could contact Mr. Markel to see if there's any need to protect him in any way, shape, or form?
I didn't.
Give me 1 second, Your Honor.
I know the fact that Jeff didn't alert the police immediately after this statement was made to him rubs a lot of people the wrong way. And I can understand the frustration and anguish of thinking that this tragedy may have somehow been able to be prevented. So I would like us to take a few things into consideration before hanging Jeff out to dry. I'm sure many of us have either heard or said ourselves things to the effect of, if I ever saw so-and-so, I would kill them. Or I would like 30 minutes alone in a room with so-and-so, and only one of us would be walking out, etc. And I can be fairly certain to say that whether this was heard or uttered ourselves, most of us haven't or wouldn't go to the police. I feel like especially with a person as emotionally unstable as Wendi, there's going to be a certain amount of dismissal to statements like this. I feel like in most people's friend circle, there's at least one person that you just kind of write off anything they say as just being who they are. Like you take your girlfriends out to the bar, but you have to pre-warn them about Crazy Kevin because Crazy Kevin just says crazy things. Wendi is Crazy Kevin. I also want to share a personal experience of mine that shows that going to the police doesn't always do much. When I first started my YouTube channel 11 years ago, I ended up with a crazed fan who became obsessed with me. It started out innocently at first, but then took a dark turn when this person began to make death threats against me. This person then acquired my home address, my phone number, and even went as far as to send me pictures of my own house that they flew across the country just to see. They sent me death threats through text, through emails, left messages on my phone, and even posted them to YouTube, tagging me. They were very detailed and even included the weapon that they had planned to use in these videos. Armed with this information, I went to the local police station. It took me over 30 minutes just to share all the evidence that I had of this threat. I was ultimately told that there was nothing they could do. I was told that until this person is on my doorstep and I am in active danger, there's no steps they could take to offer me protection or prevent anything from happening. And it should be noted that this was in the same year and the same state that Dan Markel was murdered in. So as heartbreaking as it is to think that this could have somehow been prevented if only Jeff had acted on this information, I can say with some level of certainty that, unfortunately, it would have likely made little to no difference.
All right, Mr. Lacoste, when we broke, we were talking about statements made to you by Wendi Adelson about her brother considering options to take care of her relocation problem. What, if any, statements did she tell you to that effect?
Yes, ma'am. On July 13th, 2014, Wendi and I were speaking, and she asked me if she could share something with me confidentially. I told her sure. She mentioned, or she said, that Charlie had explored all options to take care of the problem, and that he had looked into having Professor Markel killed. It would cost about $15,000. I later talked to Investigator Isom and said that could have been $50,000. They sound an awful lot alike.
Okay, so you're not sure if she said 15 or 50.
That's right, but I'm confident she made that statement. I just can't remember the exact dollar amount. And she did state that was during the relocation battle the previous summer is when that had taken place.
All right. And the day that she made the statement to you was July 13th of 2014.
Yes, ma'am.
Let's go now to July 14th, 2014.
Okay.
Now, you had met Catherine McBanois several months prior to that.
Yeah, I met her in March.
So March, April, May, June, July. Wendi is opening up to you and saying what her brother had looked into doing, right?
I think you're talking about the 14th. You're talking about the 13th, I think.
July 13th?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
So July 13, 2014, she's talking about her brother hiring a hitman. She's giving you incriminating details, right?
Yes.
Never said anything about the involvement of Catherine McBanois, right?
No, it was 3 sentences, so no, she didn't.
All right, let's talk about now the options that he looked into doing to take care of the problem, right?
Right.
On direct examination, the state attorney's office asked you what year it was. But there was more specifics to that. It was specifically the summer of 2013, right?
Yes, it was attached to the relocation, so whenever, it was after relocation had failed, where she'd been denied the motion for relocation.
But I want to make sure it's clear because we didn't have the full information from direct examination. What Wendi told you is that her brother looked into hiring a hitman in the summer of 2013.
That's correct.
And that would have been before he even knew Catherine McBanois.
Yeah, I don't know when they met, but if you say so.
This is going to be the Sunday before the homicide that we're here about. Did you see Wendi Adelson that evening at her residence here in Tallahassee?
Yes, after we returned from dinner and a movie, we went back to her residence. Yes, ma'am.
All right. And at some point that evening, did the issue of the relocation battle that was going on back in the summer of 2013 come up?
It did.
And is that the issue we've already touched on, which has to do with her wanting to move to South Florida with the children and filing a petition to do so in the courts?
That's right, and by extension, the issue of being stuck in Tallahassee.
Okay. And while discussing that issue, did Ms. Adelson make some statements to you about her brother Charlie?
She did.
And what were those statements?
She asked to speak to me confidentially in a very serious tone of voice, told me that Charlie had investigated all possible options to take care of the problem of Danny Markel, including hiring a hitman, which would cost about $15,000. And I later revised that and thought maybe it was $50,000, but the dollar amount was the only thing in question. She definitely said that Charles Adelson had looked into hiring a hitman to kill Danny Markel.
And when did she say Mr. Adelson had looked into hiring a hitman?
When the relocation was denied the previous summer.
Okay. All right. And the dollar amount, so she either said 15 or 50, you're not sure which?
That's correct.
Okay. And when she said this, what was her demeanor like?
She's very serious.
All right, so definitely not the to be confused with the TV joke?
No, I'd heard that joke repeatedly. I knew that joke. This was something very different. This was chilling, a little scary, made my stomach flip. I found it disturbing. The joke was said in a lighthearted manner, and this was not said in that way. This was serious and said confidentially.
All right, thank you. And I want to, well...
Now, you mentioned, we'll start with the joke, the bad joke.
Yes.
You mentioned this TV joke, how it was lighthearted, bad humor, certainly in the context of what happened, but it was a joke.
Yeah, it was dark humor, I would say, but it was clearly a joke, yes.
And do you recall that joke being given at that Yardbird dinner?
I don't.
Could it have been given at that Yardbird dinner?
It could have, but I don't recall it, and I actually think I might remember that.
I'm sure you do.
Given what happened.
I think one thing that has been established is you believe that Wendi Adelson tried to frame you for Professor Markel's murder, right?
I'm suspicious that there was an effort made in that way, yes.
And so that has affected your viewpoint, correct?
Sure.
Well, let's talk about your viewpoint. And we have to go a little bit back and repeat a couple things to put it in context. So you meet with Charlie Adelson. He tells you that he's he's friends with people in the criminal element. You say thanks for a great meeting, correct? Send him a nice text.
The next day I sent him a text, yes.
You don't go to the police?
No, I don't go to the police.
Okay. You then hear that Charlie's made a joke many times about this TV being cheaper than hiring a hitman.
Heard the joke twice.
Okay. You don't go to the police?
No.
Then in June, at a time when Wendi Adelson is breaking up with you, she sits you down and she says, I have to confide the biggest secret in my life. That a year ago, my brother actually looked into hiring a hitman.
Daddy Rashbaum drives me crazy with how much he turns to the jury when he's talking to Jeff. It reminds me of bullies in 80s movies when they're talking to the kid that they're picking on, but they keep checking in with their underlings.
Then in June, at a time when Wendi Adelson is breaking up with you, she sits you down and she says, I have to confide the biggest secret in my life. That a year ago, my brother actually looked into hiring a hitman. That's your testimony here today, right?
You said in June, sir?
In June? I'm sorry, in July.
Okay.
In July.
Can you restate that? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'll do it again.
I'm sorry.
I'll try to keep it lower this time. In July of 2014,
yes,
about a week before the murder, when you're breaking up with Wendi Adelson, or things are seriously not good, she sits you down and she says, Jeffrey, I've got to confide in you. My brother actually looked into hiring a hitman. That's your testimony here today.
No, she didn't sit me down. She said it in passing, and she had a habit of blurting out things that weren't in her own self-interest. But she did do that. She did make that statement, yes, sir.
And it was chilling to you.
It was.
Unlike the joke, you thought it was real.
It was real, yes.
Did you go to the police?
I did not.
And then you break up.
Kind of. She strung me along for another week, as you know. Mostly, yeah, but kind of.
Well, the murder happens and you get called in as a suspect of the murder.
Right.
And you're upset at that point.
Yes, I was upset.
And you have a first interview with the police, and then you have a second interview with the police.
Yes.
And during the second interview with the police, you talked solely about Wendi Adelson.
Yeah, I think that's right. I felt like I needed to say they needed to look at Wendi Adelson as well. That was the point of that talk. Yes, sir.
That was the point of that talk.
Yes.
And you even you don't mention actually Charlie Adelson at all in that second interview.
I already had done so yes, you're correct.
So that second interview, you talk just about Wendi Adelson. And in fact, you're so uncomfortable in the interview. You tell the police that. You say, I'm so uncomfortable, and Detective Isom asked you why. Do you recall that?
It wasn't a Detective Isom.
Okay, I'm sorry. The detective who was interviewing you asked you why.
I don't... You have to remind me on that.
Well, let me remind you what you said. You said, because it's hard for me, because if she would take me back right now, I would go back to her.
Yeah, I was still under her spell to some degree. I would say I was fairly pathetic at that point. I would acknowledge that. Yeah.
So let me understand this, because I want to make sure I've got it right. I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Sure.
Wendi Adelson has told you that her brother looked into hiring a hitman sometime in 2013. He gets murdered.
He does.
You go to an interview, and during that interview, you're still thinking about staying with Wendi Adelson. You don't want to talk badly about her because you still want to be with her.
You're talking about this July 23rd interview specifically?
Yes.
Yeah, it only been a week. It was still pretty fresh. I was still pretty mixed up. That's right.
Okay, well, let's see how mixed up you were after that. So then you're clearly broken up at that point. We can agree, right?
Actually, I would say yes functionally, but I've testified before that Miss Adelson and I had conversations in August where she behaved as if we were still together, and we had a conversation that finally ended it, initiated by me. Now, practically, we were broken up.
You never went on a date with her again, right?
Never saw her again other than in our courtroom, right.
Fair enough. Then she tells you, according to you, that my client, Charlie Adelson, says that she had a celebration dinner with Charlie, and that the celebration dinner was about the murder of Professor Markel.
I don't recall saying that last part.
But that's how you took it, right?
I worried that was the case. I told the police, and my understanding was Wendi conceded she threw up on her dinner table.
Do you know that the first time you told the police that was in March of 2015?
I do know that.
So what happened in September of 14? What happened in October of 14?
Hold on. I want to back this up in case anyone missed it. George is really trying to give Daddy Rashbaum the attention that he wants.
What happened in October of 14?
It just starts to crack up. How she's able to keep a straight face through any of this performance is beyond me.
What happened in October of 14?
I love her.
What happened in November of 14? What happened in December of 14? January of 15? February of 15? You still didn't think that was important to tell the police?
I'm happy to answer that. I think you deserve an explanation on that. You may have noticed in my March 6, 2015 interview, I come in with notes, big pile of notes. Those notes are written in July of August. They're written pretty quick after the murder. I didn't come in right away, partially because I was scared of your client. I was scared of the repercussions if I went on the record further about my suspicion. So I was reluctant to come back in because I was frankly scared.
Oh, I get it. You were scared of him in August of 14, but you weren't scared of him in March of 2015.
I decided to man up. I decided it was a homicide and needed to man up. That's the decision I came
Right.
to.
You weren't scared to tell him that my client had actually looked into a hitman a year earlier. That didn't scare you. You could tell him that in July.
No, I was.
Hold on, sir. Let me ask the question.
Fair enough.
In July of 2014, you told police that Charlie Adelson, you heard, actually looked at hiring a hitman. You weren't scared to tell him that.
I asked for police protection. I was scared.
You told them that in July of 2014. Isn't that correct?
Yes, in the same conversation I said, can I get some assurances? Can I get some protection? I have something I want to tell you. I'm scared to tell you.
But you were too scared to tell him about a celebration dinner comment, and you waited almost half a year to tell him?
Well, I did wait half a year to tell them, but the notes I brought in were written right after that interview. I also wanted to get my thoughts together because I thought this day might come. And I wanted, in those first 2 interviews, there was a lot going on. It was pretty traumatic, so I wanted to collect my thoughts. So that's what I was doing, in addition to being pretty frightened and having to get over that idea.
Isn't it true that those comments never happened, and you're upset because you believe that this family tried to frame you for murder?
Everything I'm saying is true.
I'm sure it is. May I have a moment, Your Honor?
Move to strike the "I'm sure it is" comment.
I'll withdraw it.
It's withdrawn. Please disregard, members of the jury.
Rashi, I know this is some of the most damning evidence against your client, but you sound actually insane getting so worked up over Jeffrey Lacasse. Take a chill pill. I'm sure Charlie will prescribe you one. And you sit on the naughty step until you can talk in a nice voice.
I have no further comments for this. Or questions.
Redirect examination.
This may seem like a fine point, but I want to make sure it's crystal clear. When Mr. Rashbaum was asking you about the hot tub conversation, Mr. Rashbaum said that his client said that he was friends with people in the criminal element. Is that exactly what was said?
The word I recall is he had connections and friends on both sides of the tracks.
Okay. Connections to the criminal
elements. And
element.
particularly, there was the Cuban neighborhood comment that I repeated to the TPD later.
Gotcha.
Actually, on July 21st, first interview, I mentioned that comment.
Okay. How many pages of notes do you have in reference to this case?
Like right now or over the last 9 years?
I mean, kind of over the last 9 years.
Yeah. I'm a researcher by training. I'm an analytic person by nature. So those 6 months was pretty obsessive. I was reviewing every text message, every email, writing. I condensed it down. I think if you watch the videotape, you would see me bring in 3, 4, 5 pages. But I would say I wrote probably 100 pages before I came in to see them the third time.
Go.
Over the course of 6 months or so, Jeff was able to write 100 pages of notes about this case and what a sociopath Wendi is. That makes me feel a little bit better about the fact that we're, 8 or so hours into what I thought would be one video.
He had bought me a TV when I got divorced and said it was a present and made a very bad joke and bad taste that it was cheaper than hiring a hitman.
And was
But no,
that... I'm sorry, I cut you off.
No, that's okay.
What else were you going to say?
I think that was it.
All right. Was that a joke that your brother made one time or more than one time?
He has a tendency to repeat himself, so everything he says multiple times.
Do you know how many times he said it?
I have no idea, but definitely twice at least.
And it was your understanding that he had not made any actual efforts to hire the hitman?
Yes.
But you did get a TV as a divorce present?
I did get a TV.
Let's talk about your brother's jokes now. You don't deny that he joked about hiring a hitman.
He did.
You don't deny that he repeated this joke.
He did.
And he made this joke right before a hitman murdered Professor Markel.
I don't know that to be true.
Okay. He made the joke right before, and I'll leave out the hitman part, Professor Markel was killed.
He made the joke the morning that I talked to him.
Can you think of one person in this world that would actually hire two people to go kill Professor Markel other than your family?
No.
Miss Adelson, please.
The way that she turns and stares at the judge for help cracks me up.
No.
Miss Adelson, please answer. Please address me and answer the question.
It calls for an unbelievable amount of speculation. I mean, I'm responsible for coming up with. That's the prosecutor's duty, to figure out who's responsible.
You just said a moment ago that you disagree that hitmen killed Professor Markel. That's what you said, right? So my question to you is, if you're able to say, well, it wasn't hitmen, then who? Tell this jury. Who on this planet would have wanted to kill Professor Markel?
I have no idea.
All right. Let's get into that a little bit. But I want to make sure that's clear. This joke is made right before Professor Markel is murdered, right?
The joke was made many times.
It was made right before Professor Markel was murdered. Yes or no?
Yes.
July 18, 2014, you're interviewed, and you make a statement saying, I knew this would happen. You said that, right?
I did.
All right. Now I want to talk about your knowledge and your belief on this. You're a smart person, right?
How am I supposed to answer that?
Well,
don't worry about it, Wendi. I've got this. I'm educated. I'm not smart. I'm manipulative. I'm not smart. I think I know it all, but I'm not smart.
He's done that in the past where he's gone behind your back when you were having problems in a relationship and dealt with it himself.
No.
Miss Adelson, you understand that until you expose your brother what he did, that everybody's going to consider you as guilty. You understand that, right?
What is the question that you're asking me?
You understand that until you expose your brother and explain what he did, that he went behind everybody's back, that he hired a hitman to murder your ex-husband, you'll remain guilty in the eyes of the world.
I can't speak to the eyes of the world. I can only know that I have done nothing wrong.
Or maybe you are guilty.
I am not guilty.
So
I can speak to the eyes of the world.
I am not guilty.
So
I have done nothing wrong.
So we're coming back to maybe you do know, or maybe you were involved.
Excuse me? What's the question that you're asking me?
I'm giving you a header of what we're talking about so that it will ease you in the question. Okay? I'm just telling you what the topic that we're on, so we'll get to a question.
Ms. Adelson, we've got 2 points we need clarification on from you. When we talked about your relationship with Jeffrey Lacasse, we talked about a occasion on July 13th, 2014. It would have been the Sunday before the murder. And on that occasion, did you, at your residence that evening, in the context of discussing the relocation issue with involving you and your children moving to South Florida, did you say that Charlie, your brother, this defendant, had explored all options to resolve the problem, including hiring a hitman, and it would cost either $15,000 or $50,000?
No.
And did you have a conversation with Jeffrey Lacasse at your residence that night where you said you wanted to share something in confidence with him?
No.
Did you ever say that your brother had seriously hired a hitman where you weren't repeating the joke? You
No.
were serious. All right. And you talked about the joke about hiring a hitman. It was made in 2013. Yes? And the chilling statement about Charlie's serious interest in hiring a hitman was made to you 5 days before the murder, correct?
Correct.
And it was referencing that he had done that in 2013.
That's right.
All right. But obviously, was the murder of Dan Markel accomplished in 2013?
No, Danny lived throughout 2013 and through half of 2014.
All right. And it was accomplished in 2014
That's correct.
when Charlie Adelson was dating who?
Catherine Magbanua, that's correct.
No further questions.